Welcome to Face2Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face2Face. So my next interview is with documentarian Karim Sayad, and we talk about his new film of Sheep and Men. What a delightful and engaging, compelling, interesting film. You're not going to see anything like it, I don't think, anywhere else. It's a film where we talk about politics and change and violence. We talk about the Arab Spring and democracy and how that fits into individuals' hopes and dreams and freedoms. We talk about 130 years of colonization in Algerian society, and Karim has a lot to say about how to deal with these contradictions in Algerian society. But frankly, there's a real global application here as well. We talk about gender injustice and why there are no women present in this film, and how religion plays such a social role in so many different cultures. We touch on relationships and politics and history and social justice. It's really a fascinating conversation and a fascinating film. Coming right up, don't forget davidpecklive.com for more information about my speaking and writing, face2facelive.ca for a whole host of new interviews coming up with filmmakers and around issues of social change, and also rabble.ca, where you can find out more about issues that matter. Coming right up, of Sheep and Men, our interview here with Karim Sayad. Well, welcome to Face2Face. We're joined by another very special guest here today at the Toronto International Film Festival. We're here to talk about a new documentary called Of Sheep and Men with Karim Sayad. He's a filmmaker from, well, I'm going to let him tell you his story, but first time in Canada. Karim, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you're enjoying Canada so far. You've only seen a very little bit of it.
Of course, but my brother-in-law is from Toronto, so I had some
you've got some
allies here.
You have a few allies.
Yeah.
So Of Sheep and Men, fascinating film, interesting, so different. Watching these two families, basically these two men's lives, kind of unfold in front of us, and the sheep that they care for. Can you tell us a little bit about why even choose to make a movie? Because that's kind of a fascinating question in itself.
So I was born in Switzerland, but I used to go to Algeria like for holiday and stuff, and it was always a special time before the feast, like al-Adha, because you see all the sheep invading cities and stuff, and I always thought like, I have memories as a child, like, okay, you have the 2 days before the feast with the sheep at home, you play with him, but you know the terrible fate he will face. And so basically you had like kind of raw materials for memories and stuff. And then I discovered like these sheep fighting things, and I was like, okay, definitely there is a film to make about, because I find it cinematographic. And at the same time, I think it's a good door to explore the society, because sheep has a powerful metaphorical potential to tell a story. So you have
power to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, historically, you always had sheep. So like even in the Bible or all these things, and at the same time, is how these people appropriate themselves, like. The way they handle with these sheep. So yeah, more or less that's what motivated me to.
How much did the festival itself, the most important Muslim holiday, is it not?
You can compare it with the Christmas here,
Christmas,
for example.
So so obviously very much connected to faith. And sheep play a role not just in but it's the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right. It's the shedding of blood, is it not?
Yeah. So basically, the Eid, it's celebrating like it's something in the Old Testament. You know, it's when Abraham has to kill his son, and then Isaac, and then God sends him a sheep to slaughter in place of. Instead, yes. So that's what we basically celebrate. But then, yes, sheep fighting.
You celebrate the fact that Abraham didn't have to kill his son.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
right.
Thank you for
correcting
me.
No, that's fine. I think everyone knew, but it's just.
No, so. Sheep fighting is something different. Like, it's nothing to do with the feast per se. But you had this tradition like 3-4 days before the feast. Children, they go out with their sheep that they're gonna slaughter, and they try to make like small fights. It's something like kids play with that. But then I discovered that it was there was a whole phenomenon about it that was going on all the year. There was money in it. There was. A lot of things, and I wanted to dig in, and I began through Facebook. I saw a lot on Facebook, and then I was in touch with some of this guy, and then I met them and took some time to try to understand a bit what universe it is.
It's amazing to me that a film about sheep and two men can be so layered with respect to political issues. I mean, Algeria is a country that has suffered a lot in the last 30, I guess, well, many years, I suppose, but the Civil War was it 1990?
It was in the 90s, yes.
So your film touches in such a minimalistic way on the politics, the economics. You know, Samir's character says, I'm a merchant. I buy and sell things, right? I mean, just there's so many little entry points for conversation.
Yeah, so thank you I'm glad you underlined that, because yes, it's a very touchy issue until now to speak about what happened. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, like the last sentence of my film, I will never forgive
That's
people,
right. Yeah.
People who have made
us kill
people and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And that's, yes, something now this country is kind of in a tricky situation, because I think, a lot of people, and I think we can see it in the movie, are very, very conscious about what is going on, but they have nothing, that situation is bad. At the same time, they know probably better than anyone else the price to pay if you want to confront like a regime like the one we have now. So you have this kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but you want to change, at the same time you don't want, because every change occurred through violence this past decade. So people are tired of violence, but at the same time they're not happy with their life, they want to go away. So this kind of situation, yes, is something I wanted to explore and share with people. And I think it even takes sense, it makes sense if you see the situation more broadly in the region, where we all had all these hopes about the Arab Springs, and I still do believe like that all these people who went down the street at the beginning were totally like fighting injustice and wanting a real change. But it's true that when you see, maybe Tunisia is the only case where it seems to work, but yes, like Egypt seems to be worse than before, Syria, we don't speak about it, Yemen, we don't speak about it.
Right.
So it's interesting, I think, to see people, they didn't want to go to the streets at the same time. Everyone was asking why Algeria is not making his Arab Spring. At the same time now, you maybe understand better why. And
right.
It's kind of,
In this country, the big fish eat the small fish.
Yeah.
That's one of the men's characters says that in the film. Is that an economic statement? Is that a statement about politics? Is it just kind of a statement about power?
Yeah, I think it's at the end of the day, it's the same here. I mean,
it's absolutely right. In a different way, I suppose.
In a different way everywhere, but
yeah.
Yes, it's a straightforward way to say that. The powerful has everything, and when you have nothing, you're just a tool or a sheep.
And is the way to really stand against that, is it only through violence in your mind? I mean, it doesn't seem to me that that's what you're saying with the film.
No. It's just, I want you to explore something. Yes, we have this in our history as Algerian. So this country was independent in 1962, and me as an Arab, if I travel to another country, they ask me, where are you from? I say Algeria. The first thing, 90% of the people will tell me, country of the 1.5 million martyrs. That's what we glorify, this sacrifice of these people. And since the independence, we had the first president. He was overthrown by a coup d'etat. Then we had like 30 years of dictatorship, and then always dictatorship. Then kind of the first Arab Spring in '88, like people wanted to change or to challenge the single party system. And then we had the civil war. So no one went to office through like legitimate elections or something since this country is independent. That's what I mean. So that's maybe why it's scary for people now when you want a change, because you know that in the 50 past years it never occurred peacefully.
Do you think democracy, and I hope you don't misunderstand my question, but do you think democracy is possible and I don't mean just in Algeria, but in another, often we in the West just go, oh, the problem's democracy. Once we get that and the free market in there, Cambodians are going to be okay, Algerians will be okay, whatever. Is that a fair question?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, first of all, how do you define democracy? That's a whole debate per se. But no, I think, of course, at the end of the day, people there just want to live like people here. They just want to be able to achieve their dream, to be free, to enjoy like a nice and peaceful life. I think, though, that you have a lot of external pressure that makes things not as easy as in other places.
Sure.
And you have this history when you were colonized for 130 years in the way Algeria was. At the end, 60 years of independence is nothing when you look at history.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
It's not even half of the time we were colonized by the French. So everything of that takes a lot of time. So yes, of course, but maybe it has to come at its pace or its rhythm, Shouldn't come from outside. We've seen examples when we want to help people to have democracies, sometimes it doesn't work. That's why.
Well, exactly right.
So I don't know.
Maybe there's another solution or there's another way.
I just hope people will find their way to be more happy and to be, not to want to leave this country. But just
so the sheep, I can't help but go to this question. Sheep are just such a metaphor for so many things, right? I typically don't think of sheep fighting. I think of wool and I think of nice animals. Yeah. But you sort of paint them in an interesting light. They the sheep seem pretty angry to me. Yeah. It's just, and then to watch them fight, it's pretty violent.
Yeah, it is.
The slamming, and then the one fight in particular, I was telling my daughter about it this morning, Victoria, and how the sheep was sort of stumbling around as if it had been given concussion. Yeah. Very violent. So there's a real contradiction there. Yeah. These playful sheep. Yeah. I dream about them at night. Right. That's what you do with sheep, right?
No, of course. It's a. How to tell it? It's okay. Algeria now for me is like my father has a beautiful sentence about to describe this country and his relationship to this country. He says it's a passional attraction, but rational repulsion.
So hang on, personal attraction? Did you say? Or
emotional? Passion.
Yeah,
passional attraction, but rational repulsion.
But rational repulsion. Interesting. Okay.
And I really like this sentence because it means this country lives in full contradiction. Then, when you're younger, when you're 20, when you look for yourself, you try to solve this contradiction. Then you become to be wise and you find, okay, no way to resolve it, it's just like this. So let's speak about this and let's share it with people. And I think it makes great film or great books or great stories because it makes you think as an audience. I'm not here to tell you what to think. So for this sheep, and the violence, it's exactly the same. When you see my character, for example, Habib, the character of Habib, you see that he loves his sheep. He's like his dog or anything. But because of this society imposes things on him, like being a man, being whatever, he will want to make him fight. Even the sheep doesn't want to fight. He's just happy, I think, with his master, and to have this cool relationship.
They seem to have a pretty lovely relationship.
And to share, like...
I love the way Habib, I think it was Habib, brings the sheep up the stairs I mean, right into the house, right into the room. It seems so kind of family.
Yeah, it's
They're
like a
family.
pet. So that's what I was interested in, this contradiction. You see these men loving their animals, and we saw during the shooting, like, people almost crying for a sheep which died or anything. At the same time, everything that they do with them is something violent, or they sell them to be slaughtered, or they
Right.
make them fight.
Right. Right.
And in a way, it's something that, yes, I can use as a metaphor for this country, because so people love each other, but at the end, it's almost always violent. You know, I don't know. Yeah.
So violence is not the way for you. This idea that change is only going to come to Algeria through, is it another revolution? Is it take
No, I think sometimes it's necessary. You don't have the choice, but of course, I don't think people want that. I mean,
Well,
no
you
one
certainly hope
likes
not.
to be. I don't think no one likes to be violent. It's a mean to achieve something, but yeah, I'm not for that. I'm just observing
You're
and
observing, yeah.
realizing that it's something that's part of us. Like, at least, again, you walk in the streets, you have all names of streets are martyr names. You have it's present everywhere in the landscape, you know. So yes, you grew up with that, and I mean, yeah. So you even still have like a former, how you say, it's soldiers ministry in Algeria, like ancien combattant in French. What do you say it in English? It's like veterans. Vets?
Right, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Who are in political
Veterans.
positions.
So no, but you have still, like, these people who like fought the French.
Uh-huh.
Now you still have a ministry like granting them advantages.
Okay, yeah.
But it was like 50 years ago. Who's now
Right.
with the need of something like
right,
this? You know?
right.
So I'm just giving you this example to show you how still heavy it's on the society, this
Sure,
legacy. And I think a 20 years old guy today, like Habib in my character, has other issues to face than independence now.
Right.
Even if
right.
it's important and stuff.
Well, the fact that he wants to be a veterinarian and can no longer get there because of, presumably because of the economic, situation that he finds himself in. By the way, the little Facebook videos that he films are just so charming and so wonderful.
Thank you.
So wonderful. So where are all the women?
Okay, the women are okay. That's the question that I know. So basically, women are.
There's no women in this film, right?
Yeah, in the film there is no, because I'm with guys, and these guys basically they see their mom or their sisters at home, and no, okay. Let me be clear. In Algeria, women, it's not like Afghanistan or countries like I mean, it's not the worst country in the world for women. They have rights. They go out. You have girls not wearing the veil. That's not. It's not an easy condition though, as well. There are no women in my film because the social milieu I'm in it and the characters I had are not with women. The street is for men, and the homes are for women in this kind of cultural milieu. So now we can ask about my opinion on that, if it's good or not.
Yeah.
But that's something else. For me, I'm observing a reality, and
yes.
the reality is that these guys do not see women. They are with guys all the time, and that's the same when I go to visit my cousins. The only women I see are my aunts and my girl cousins, and the level of trust we obtained to be able to shoot so close to them and stuff. If I would have asked for women or pushed to try to catch women for the sake of the film, you not to ask me this question, I would have lost this trust, because it would have meant I don't understand you guys and the way
Interesting.
you.
Wow.
And
Well, I think it's a very powerful statement on its own.
Yeah.
Just merely on its own, that they the otherness or their voice is not sort of heard. I've never heard the phrase before. The street is for men.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way it is in not even Algeria, but you go to south of Italy or this kind of country, it's kind of the same mentality.
Right, right.
It's changing maybe
Of course,
quicker
yeah.
than in Algeria. But in Algeria, if you go to fancy neighborhood, you will have you will see girls drinking coffees outside and stuff. But I'm speaking about a special social milieu, and yes, that's the reality. That's how it is. So, and I think at the end, I'm describing like people having not that easy condition. The absence of women is for me a way to stress that. I mean, I lived there for some times. It's not easy when you're 20, 22 or not be able to hang out with girls. I mean, it's not easy.
You're hanging out with sheep. What's going on?
Yeah, so that's one of the things.
There's something not right there.
Yeah,
But absolutely. Are you
made the point.
The same thing with the very beautifully placed shot of the cleric, the presumably the pretty conservative fundamentalist cleric talking about sheep fighting and how this is a transgression, I think.
Yeah.
Right? This is a sin. This is a sin.
Yeah.
And Habib is just, and yet you don't show us Habib's reaction.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to pursue sheep fighting anyway. Was that your way of saying we need to start thinking a little bit more about the way faith and religion are interacting?
For me, it was
society, culturally?
It was a way to show how. I'm not speaking about faith per se or what people think. That's not my point here. My point was to try to show how religion is kind of a social, can play a social pressure role, you know? Because this guy finally, he, at the end of the day, he has nothing to do. He doesn't go to school. He is like struggling in his bus, like to make some coins.
Right.
And he has his sheep. And even his sheep, you have someone telling him it's not good. Regarding faith per se, again, it's something that underlines another contradiction. One more is, I think this video is exactly like, so he watched the video and then he goes on trying to make his sheep fight.
Right, yeah.
So basically he doesn't respect that. But it's like alcohol in lots of Muslim countries. I mean, we know that half of the people drinks, but they will never drink in front of someone, or they will try to find a way to accommodate this social pressure and the reality of how it ever was. So, okay, it's a bit provocative to compare it with alcohol, but it's exactly that.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's a way to ask people, okay, look, okay, that's what they say and that's what you do. Why can't you maybe just find a way to look at yourself in the mirror and not like having this double face all the time?
Sure, yeah. Be a little more transparent, a little more authentic.
That's exactly the same. I took you the example of alcohol. Maybe it's not the most appropriate, but it is for me in the sense that knowing that everyone is drinking, for example, or a lot of people do, would it be not better to have some places you can do that, even respecting cultural taboos, than having people hiding themselves and drinking while driving and having accidents?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
We reach some levels sometimes, or where it's bad at least.
So, Karim, to what degree is your film about showing opportunities or lack of opportunities for these men, for Algerians? For those struggling to make ends meet?
I think yes, maybe my film is not very optimistic. I don't think it's pessimistic too much. So it is, of course, but what I can say is this country, yes, I'm pessimistic kind of for this country at the short term and the way it is ruled by these elites, these corrupted elites and stuff. Because they don't take care about these people in this country. But at the same time, I'm deeply moved by the guy I shot, the guy I spent so many times with, the strength they have to still standing in front of all these hardships. And for me, that's why I want to tell stories about these guys, because they are the future of this country. I think we can love them, even if we're not from there, but we can be moved by them, we can understand them, I think. And that's just the question, or maybe not the question, but what I would like to show is look at these guys. They are not any better or worse than us. So if they can't make it, it's something is not working. And what is it? Then up to you as an audience. Maybe you can tell it's Samir or Habib. They should do more. Maybe you will understand that. We're trapped in a kind of rare situation, which I hope we can go out of.
We're gonna have to wrap up the conversation in a minute or two, but I love the end of the film where I think it was Habib who said something about, but just before the slaughter, says, I don't want to look something about I can't. Does he actually say empathized?
Yeah,
the translation
he says
I can empathize, and then the father says we all empathize.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the point, isn't it? Maybe we don't empathize with others, right?
So for me it's a link to So you had 150,000 dead during the Civil War. For what? We all empathize, but we kill it at the end. So again, I'm not telling it's good or bad, but I'm just looking, and it interrogates myself. It's questioning for me. This relationship to all that, we empathize, but we do it at the end.
But we do it anyway.
And
well, listen, I didn't say congratulations on the film, and again, welcome to Toronto and the Toronto International Film Festival. We've been talking with Karim Sayad, a remarkable film, by the way.
Thank you, and I hope my English was not so broken. That
it's fine, Karim. Karim Sayad and his new film of Sheep and Men. Thanks so much for your time.